Welcome to the ITIL 4 Practitioner Relationship Management Official Sample Paper 1 recording from One World Training. There are two sample papers, official ones from PeopleCert, and this is the first one. We also have the official papers in the online simulation exam format for you in your e-learning access. And we also have made available the two sample papers and their answers in the PDF formats in your e-learning access. First of all, we would like to acknowledge PeopleCert and AXELOS as we have used their materials and their logos in this presentation. The sample paper is on the lines of the real exam. Of course, in the real exams, the questions would not be the same. It's a half-an-hour exam, just like the real one, and all 20 questions should be attempted because there is no negative marking. Each question is worth 1 mark. All are multiple choice questions. And there's only one correct answer per question, and you need to obtain at least 13 correct to pass the exam. It's a closed book exam. It is invigilated by a proctor from PeopleCert. It is an online web-based exam. Therefore, no material other than the exam paper is allowed. If you're writing the exam in a language which is not the same as your spoken language, based on the profile you filled in at PeopleCert in your account, then the system would automatically detect that and give you 25% additional time. Which means you would get 8 minutes additional, so making it a total of 38 minutes. I'll be taking you through all these questions, one after another in sequence, and allowing you some time to reflect, think about the answer before I reveal the answer and explain it. For some of the answers, I will also take you to the practice guide and show you evidence of the answer for example, in a table within the practice guide. Note that we have a separate recording explaining how you can access the practice guides for all the PeopleCert courses. There are two ways to access, one through your PeopleCert login and other through the Bookshelf app. And you can access these using your exam voucher provided to you by us from One World Training. And that recording explains how you can not only book your exam using the exam voucher, but also obtain access to the practice guide or other manuals based on the certificate that you're writing or attempting. And we also have another recording as to how you can maintain your certificate because all these certificates expire within 3 years. The best way is to write another exam from the same family of certifications. For example, write another ITIL exam by the end of the 3 years of expiry for this one, and automatically all the previous expiring certificates would be extended to another 3 years automatically, unless you want to write the exam again. And there are other ways, such as becoming a membership of AXELOS and submitting 20 hours of contribution to this area, to ITIL, and do that for 3 years, making it 60 hours over the period of 3 years, and wherein you get a badge every year at the end of submission of 20 hours, or PDUs or CPDs as they call it. And once you do that for 3 years continuous, then you will be awarded the certificate, meaning it will be renewed. So let me take you through all the questions from now on. Here we have the first question. What is the purpose of the relationship management practice? So it's a purpose question. A, ensuring that relationship models are adopted and followed across the organization. B, establishing a healthy work climate in the organization. C, improving the integration between an organization and its stakeholders in line with the organization's objectives. D, ensuring high stakeholder satisfaction with relationships across the organization. Just one thing before we get into this, there will be 5 questions from the key concepts of relationship management out of the 20. And then similarly, there'll be 5 questions from the value streams and processes dimension of the practice. The remaining areas, such as organizations and people, information and technology, partners and suppliers, the capability maturity model for the practice, and the recommendations for practice success, together those 5 areas cover only 10 of the 20 marks in the exam, which means the key concepts and the processes value streams are covering 50% of the exam questions. So here I will allow you some time to think, reflect on the answer before I will reveal and explain the answer. You can always pause if you want to think more on the answer, and while I reveal it right now. So option A, it's not a purpose of the practice, it's a metric. There are 3 PSFs We have the approach PSF, then we have the internal relationships PSF, and the external relationships PSF, meaning the practice success factor. So the first one is a metric for the approach practice success factor, namely the establishing and continually improving an effective approach to the relationship management practice across the organization. And therefore, it's about the adoption of the models, which is a metric from that approach PSF. Option B, establishing a healthy work climate in the organization. This is also a metric for one of the PSFs, the practice success factors. This is particularly for the PSF, ensuring effective and healthy relationships within the organization. Option C, improving the integration between an organization and its stakeholders in line with the organization's objectives. This would be correct because the purpose of the practice is to establish and nurture the links between the organization and its stakeholders at strategic and tactical levels. The word integration in option C means the same as the links to be established and nurtured. And the objectives in the option C, organization's objectives in this option C imply the strategic level of functioning of the organization. Therefore, C would be correct. Option D, this is a metric for the healthy relationships within the organization, that PSF. Therefore, D is also incorrect. Therefore, C would be the correct and best one. So this is how you need to delineate between the correct and the incorrect choices here. I need to work that out carefully. Some questions might be easy, some a little tricky. For example, the purpose of a practice is usually quite easy to understand, but you may have to remember some of the words in the purpose definition of the practice, and that's when it can get a little tricky. So I would highly recommend that you study specific statements in your training material or even the practice guide to help you deal with tricky ones in the exam. Otherwise, more than one option might appear to be correct for not only this question, but maybe a few others as well. Question number 2, which practice success factor of the relationship management practice includes translation of organization's values and strategy into rules, techniques, and behavior models? A, ensuring effective and healthy service relationships. B, ensuring effective and healthy relationships with authorities and regulators. C, establishing and improving effective internal relationships. D, establishing and improving an effective approach to relationship management. There are 3 practice success factors. One was about the approach, the other one is about the internal relationships, and the other for the external relationships. So the question is about translating the values and strategy into rules, techniques, and behaviors. It seems to be at first sight related to the approach PSF rather than the internal external relationships, because those will follow the approach for the internal external relationships to be established and maintained in an effective way. Therefore, we could rule out option A. This is about the relationships of the organization with the external stakeholders, and it's an aspect of that. Then option B, the authorities and regulators seems to be, again, external stakeholders. So it's again for that PSF, practice success factor, for the external relationships to be maintained in a healthy manner. And option C, establishing, improving effective internal relationships. Again, this is about the PSF related to the healthy relationships within the organization. Therefore, D could be the one. Establishing and improving an effective approach to relationship management. This would be correct because this approach focuses and ensures that these principles, which are part of the approach, the values and principles are the part of the approach, and these are translated into effective techniques, rules, and behavior patterns that are adopted and practiced by everyone within the organization. Therefore, D would be the correct answer. And the relationship management practice works in dealings between individuals, teams, and organizations to develop, communicate, and maintain a set of values and principles for relationships. And these need to be consistent across different types of stakeholders. And then those values and principles need to be translated into working ways such as techniques, rules, and behavior patterns. to be adopted by everyone. Question number 3. An organization wants to be sure that it has organized the management of relationships in an optimal way. What is a relevant metric for this? A, the percentage of exit interviews which reveal an employee's dissatisfaction with relationships with other employees. B, the number and percentage of the teams following the agreed relationship models. C, the percentage of the external stakeholders trusting the organization. D, the number of complaints made by employees about the relationships with other employees and stakeholders. Now, in the question, note that it doesn't indicate any specific internal or external relationship. It could be either one. Therefore, it's probably not connected with the internal relationship PSF or the external relationship PSF, practice success factor, but more with the approach PSF. But I'll let you think about this first. So the first one, the exit interviews, this would be connected with the PSF of ensuring effective and healthy relationships within the organization. The second one, the teams following the agreed relationship models. Yeah, this would be correct because it has to do with the PSF of ensuring and optimizing the approach towards relationship management, that PSF. Option C, it is about the external stakeholders. So again, it is not correct. And the last one is about the internal stakeholders and the employees, that is. Therefore, the best one here would be option B, the number and percentage of the teams following the agreed relationships models. And this is connected with the PSF, establishing and continually improving an effective approach to relationship management across the organization. Let's also take a look at the practice guide to see some evidence of that. And we can see here section 2.5 in the practice guide. I have opened this in the bookshelf app. You can even access this through your PeopleCert login. And if you notice the first practice success factor in table 2.5, that is the approach related PSF. And you can see here the various metrics: adoption of the common approach to relationship management and satisfaction of key stakeholders. And the third one, broken relationships because the agreed approach was not adopted. Therefore, if I go back to the question, the following the agreed models, and therefore that is connected with the adoption of the approach. Yeah? So therefore, that would be correct. In the rationale, you will see a slightly different explanation. The rationale will actually connect the answer choice with the second one, satisfaction of key stakeholders with the organization's approach. And however, we had the option B there was about the adoption of the approach. Therefore, there's a slight difference in the answer and explanation because it's about the adoption of the approach, which has the models as well. We now move on to the next question, number 4. Which type of relationship is the least focused on shared interests and goals? A, business associate, B, business friend, C, personal friend, D, business partnership. So the sharing of interests and goals is least in which one? In the business associate, the degree of communality is quite low. Therefore, that would be the correct one. In business friend, the degree of communality is medium, whereas in the personal friend, the degree of communality is high. And the last one, the partnership, is a type of service relationship which has a high level of shared interests and goals in that. Therefore, that is also incorrect. In partnership, the typical focus is innovation and growth. And it's good to check out the table in the practice guide, and that is actually table 2.1. And let me show you this table as well. You will see this here, examples of the most common type of relationships in an organizations. And here you will see the business associate. The trust is low there. And degree of communality also low there. Yes, therefore, that we picked up that one. There's another table which explains the relationships between organizations. Table 2.2, we have a basic relationship. cooperative, and partnership. And if you notice in the partnership, there is a closer relationship with a focus on innovation and growth. So coming back, therefore, the correct answer would be A, business associate, with the least focus on shared interests and goals. Next, we move on to question 5. Which type of relationship focuses on reviewing and revising the services provided to customers? A, basic relationship, B, cooperative, C, partnership, D, business associate. A bit similar, but it's about organizational relationships in this case. In a basic one, relationship, there is support and efficiency focus. B, cooperative, there is focus on improvement and effectiveness, which is mapping to the question, reviewing and revising the services. Option C, partnership, the typical focus is innovation and growth. And D is the communality or helping behavior is quite low. So therefore, the reviewing and revising the services provided to the customers would happen in a cooperative relationship with the typical focus on improvement and effectiveness. And therefore, we need to refer to that table in the practice guide again, the one we saw at the end for the previous question, table 2.2, types of service relationships between organizations. And we see here in this column on cooperative relationship, the typical focus is improvement and effectiveness. Therefore, that would be correct. The cooperative, option B. Next, question 6. Which is a key input to the managing relationship journeys process? So we have a process question, and you might recollect that I mentioned earlier, there will be 5 questions in the exam out of the 20 relating to processes and value streams. So the question is about the input to this specific process, and is it which one? Option A, management of deviations from the relationship models. B, suggestions for better relationship management. C, education plans and resources. D, documentation of relationship structures. Let's go through the possible inputs here. For the managing relationship journeys process, the first one, the management of deviations, is an activity termed managing exception in the journey process, so it's not an input. B, suggestions for better relationship management, is an output. It's actually the improvement initiatives output of the journeys process. Option C, education plans and resources. Yes, this is an input to the journeys process because we do have the training and awareness materials as an input there. Option D, documentation of relationships statuses. I probably mentioned structure earlier. It was a small error, but it's relationship statuses. This is an output. This is basically the relationship records output of the journeys process. Therefore, the correct answer would be the option C, education plans and resources. So it is also important, therefore, that you are able to recollect the inputs, outputs of the processes of the practice, and also the meaning of the activities as well. And therefore, let's look at the relevant table here. In this case, we need to look at the table 3.3, which is about the managing the relationship journeys. So you have the table 3.3, which shows the inputs, activities, and outputs of the managing relationship journeys process. And you can see here the second input, training and awareness materials. So that's why we picked up that one. So do go through the inputs, activities, and outputs for these the various processes. We have 2 processes in this practice. One of them is managing the common approach to relationships, which is similar to the PSF for the approach to be created and optimized. And the other one is the managing the relationship journeys. So these are the 2 processes. And the managing the relationship journeys is connected with maintaining healthy relationships within the organization and with external stakeholders, meaning those two other PSFs. Therefore, we conclude C as the correct answer.